Welcome to the Ultrahuman experience. This session is free for you for the complete experience. Please download the Ultrahuman app.
Good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories. My name is Elizabeth Saydah. We are fascinated and intrigued by space. Are there other planets that can sustain life on them? What would it be like to live on another planet? And what if I told you that it could be possible? Our dreamscape is built to sustain and visualize life on any planet, without limits. Tonight, I invite you to come with me to Mars. I have been told that the sunsets here are particularly beautiful. Come, let's imagine what it must have been like to live and view the spectacular panorama of the sun setting on Mars. I hear the friendly buzz of my rover craft starting its engine as it senses my approach from across the parking lot. The locks pop open as I reach it, and the circular silver door on its side slides up to reveal the pearl gray interior and wide chrome control panels. The center screen chirps inquisitively, and I key in my code to acknowledge the lift sequence. The craft hovers gently a few inches off the ground, the door still open. As I swing my legs and knock off a thin layer of rich, reddish dust from my boots onto the desert ground below. The dust floats low in the air for a moment, a shimmering haze of fine red particles, before settling slowly back down into the sand. I take a second to watch it drift, the delay a result of the weakened gravity here. You wouldn't bounce off the surface, of course, but the difference is enough that you feel lighter, move with more ease, and little things like sand or dust take their time coming back down to the surface. I watch the miniature haze slowly settle, and then swing my booted feet back into my craft. The door slides securely shut, and we lift off and onto the airway, finding a spot amongst the other rover crafts heading back home. Once the craft gets going, I can let it stay on auto drive until we reach our destination. And so I sink gratefully into the soft gray seat beneath me. It's been a long, dirty, but satisfying day at work in Greenhouse X. I can't wait to get home and sink into a hot shower with the water pressure up high. I can already smell the eucalyptus soap I use, the rich, woodsy scent it makes when it foams up into a lather. I'm eagerly looking forward to scrubbing all the dirt out from under my fingernails, and off the rest of me, too. At work in the greenhouse today, we got a fresh new shipment of rich, black earth soil. I spent the day spreading it around new seedlings and saplings. tucking tender roots into the fresh soil delicately, like putting a child to bed under a soft, new blanket. It has been a good day, but a long one, and my muscles are tired, ready to relax. As if reading my mind, the plushy seat of my rover craft reclines even deeper to cradle my shoulders and cushion the small of my back. I look out the window as we speed off towards my home pod. We're moving fast, but it feels like floating. The landscape flashes by as we zip past. Graceful sand dunes and low, craggy hills outline the horizon, while wide, shallow craters dot the uneven ground below. The sky is a familiar, warm rose red, with coppery streaks that illuminate the burnt sienna sand around me. The reddish gold light of day is just beginning to fade as sunset approaches. I'll be home before it begins in earnest, though. With 28 hours in every day, there's always just enough time to do everything you want to do. Nothing feels rushed here, but it doesn't drag on either. I take a deep, contented breath, looking forward to the rest of my evening. As I look up at the warm, wide expanse of open sky, a few halo strips come to life above me, blinking. The projected blue beams of light high up in the sky are temporary holographic pathways. Only sometimes visible, they mark out takeoff and landing lanes for halo ships, the interstellar transit crafts made for long journeys with zero emissions. The halo ships are noiseless, hovering over the blue light strips for a few moments when they arrive, and then disappearing back into the starlit regions of space in a flash. The airstrips themselves disappear shortly afterwards, leaving no trace in the sky. I wonder idly where they're taking off to, and what new worlds they might be on their way to discovering. There's so much more to the galaxy than just this friendly red planet. But at the same time, life is so full here that I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere else. Still, just for a moment, watching the halo ships prepare for outer space, I muse about traveling with them far out into new galaxies. I picture myself touching down on unknown planets ringed with orange and purple halos, discovering deep blue oceans teeming with undiscovered creatures, pushing through jungles wet with fresh green life, and sailing past snow-capped mountain ranges. Then the last halo ship up above me winks out of this atmosphere, headed for another. Its disappearance snaps me out of my reverie, and I smile to myself, thinking of the happy life I have here. Adventure is always out there, if you care to look for it. but it knows how to wait patiently until you're ready too. My rover craft pulls up and settles down onto the ground outside my home pod, bringing me out of my reverie. Lights dimming, it comes to rest in the small, rust-colored crater by the front door. Just the right size for the craft. I key in the off-ignition sequence and gaze fondly at my home pod as I step out. The pod is white, the better to reflect the sun's glare on hot days. It's shaped like an oval, a narrow, tall structure, like a very long, skinny goose egg. There's a wide, semicircular balcony out back, up on the second floor. The house is dotted up and down with kite-shaped windows, letting light filter in at all hours of the day. I walk up to the front circle door and hold up my handprint, unlocking the house. I pull off my high-rise rubber boots by the door, leaving the last of the crusted, rich red earth on the doormat, and walk inside. Inside the house is white as well, clean and crisp. The spiral staircase leading up to the second floor I have currently set on regular walk mode. But it can also become an escalator or even a slide, a feature I usually use when friends visit. There are control panels all over the house for various appliances and functions, but each is covered by a sliding white panel, so the space feels open, airy, and natural, and not crammed with technology. Since I'm feeling a little tired, I flip the spiral stairs to escalator mode and glide smoothly up to the second floor, past diamond windows, revealing glimpses of the red hills outside. I love the house because it's so simple. It's easy to keep and feels friendly. But the shower is maybe my favorite space of all. The shower is its own large room, separate from the bathroom and bedroom, but attached to both. The floor, ceiling, and walls are all covered with small, light jade green tiles, each just a little bigger than my thumbnail, which heat up or cool down as you step inside. The diamond cutout window in this room is small, higher up on the wall, and tinted with green, thick, wavy glass that can't be seen through, but lets in natural light still. The shower turns on as I step inside. The temperature and water pressure all controlled by motion sensors, attuned to a wave of a hand. This evening, I set the pressure to pounding and the heat up high. I feel my muscles relax and loosen as the warm water hits them. Red dust and brown earth rolling off me in rivulets. I lather up and wash my hair and skin thoroughly with my eucalyptus gel, the scent soothing as I rinse off the day so far. I could stay in the shower forever, and I have plenty of time to take a long one, since my evening has only just begun. But eventually, I step out into a warm, plush robe, and then into my sleeping suit, soft and lined with specially woven fiber for chilly nights. I glide back down the stairs and into the kitchen. For dinner tonight, I prepare a warm curry that fills the kitchen with the smell of cinnamon, cloves, anise, turmeric, and ginger. Streaks of red light fill the room, and the white walls have a rosy glow from the sky outside. Dinner doesn't take too long. There are so many almost magical appliances that make life infinitely easier and come standard with the house. The quick mincer, the instant cook, and the magic simmer, to name a few. Of course, you can still do things the slow way when you feel meditative or want to cook up something special. But you never have to. Your time is a choice, and it's up to you to decide how you want to spend it. Over dinner, I play an old rerun of one of my favorite Earth shows on one of the big, crystal clear screens near the table. It's a silly old cartoon, but I love seeing what Earth writers thought the future would be like. The whole family has these flying cars and houses high up on sticks, and robots. Watching it is like comfort food, like eating a big bowl of your favorite ice cream flavor growing up. I finish eating, my belly warm and full. I go ahead and leave the dishes in the Sani swirl. The big glass dish washing machine is tucked neatly behind another white sliding panel. More like a miniature car wash than anything, the Sani swirl cleans all the dishes in less than half the time it takes me to load it up. I close up the panel and set it to work noiselessly, and then wave again at the television screen, which turns off as the episode comes to a close and slides behind another discreet white panel. Before I head outside for sunset, I wander over to my piano and practice a few songs. The piano is slim and small, an upright tucked against one white wall. It's made of warm cherry wood, a precious resource harvested from my beloved greenhouse, and then expertly crafted into the acoustic instrument. The piano notes echo in the tall, open space as I begin to play. It feels good to stretch my fingers over the keys after a day of digging and mulching in the garden. The music flows fluidly tonight, so much so that I'm inspired to play one of the more difficult pieces I know. It's a sonata written by one of the first settlers on Mars. She's a legend all over the planet, a hero. The story goes that she landed with just the bare essentials. But she was so awestruck by the beauty of the red desert landscape that she was moved to write music in her spare time. She scribbled hundreds of melodies and harmonies on scraps of paper that she would never hear played out loud. But the music she wrote was passed down by generation after generation of settlers, and it eventually became famous. Now it's a classic, an anthem for the people who now call this red dot in space home. I play my favorite section of the longer piece, one that was inspired by the rosy sky in the mornings, the clear, seemingly endless stars you see at night, and, of course, our famous blue sunsets. Which reminds me, it's almost time for sunset to begin. I close the lid on the piano and go to pour myself a glass of wine to carry out onto the balcony with me. The bottle I choose is made from dark green glass, the neck a little longer than usual. It's a light red, almost a rosé, that smells like sweet wild strawberries and black peppercorns. I pour out a glass and swirl it around and see that the color of it almost matches the last few streaks of red that are just disappearing from the sky outside. My home's pod balcony is also white, a semicircle up on the second floor. I keep a few blankets out, as it can get chilly watching the sun set. And it's always cold out here at night. I usually don't mind, because my sleeping suit adapts itself to the changing weather as the temperature drops. I like the crispness of the air on particularly dark, clear nights. And so, I sit out here often. But to watch the sunset tonight, I pull a blanket out just for comfort. Its pale brown weave extra soft against my cheek as I settle underneath it. The light has been fading from bright, desert-streaked red into pale rose for a little while now, as the evening grows later. The sunset, like everything else here, is never rushed. It's steady, the sky changing colors, like paint sliding slowly down a canvas. The colors blending until the picture is complete. It takes its time, as do I, winding down the day contentedly with my glass of wine and soft blanket. As I watch the sky, a few hazy purple streaks appear, the intermediary between the pink of daylight and the blue of evening. The purple fades away gently, the colors lifting until the whole sky above turns the palest gray blue imaginable. the colors lifting until the whole sky above turns the palest gray blue imaginable. The far-off mountains are nearly black now, silhouetted against the horizon, and only the closest sand around me keeps some of its red gold hue in the fading light. This is just the beginning of the sky's spectacle. The sun is smaller here, further off and perfectly circular, almost like a large copper penny, or a very full golden moon high up in the daytime sky. The light that emanates from it is gentle, a soft, bright glow, and you can look right at it without burning your eyes. The sun has been high up and unobscured all day, but now, as evening falls, it begins to sink softly through the pale blue-gray sky. There's a light breeze from the east, and it begins to get chillier. I pull my soft blanket around my shoulders, glad for the extra warmth. As the sun sinks deeper, the color of the sky around it becomes deeper too. It's a pure, almost electric blue now. The kind of blue that makes you feel like you're standing under neon lights. The sinking sunlight pools in craters on the ground and caresses a few craggy boulders silhouetted against the horizon. It runs its fading fingers along the tops of the sand dunes, dark shapes in the evening light. The blue of the sky makes what's left of the sun seem more silver than gold. Or maybe it's the temperature cooling things down that seems to pull warmth from the fading light. The sunset takes its time, like everything else here on Mars. The horizon is distant, a smudged dark gray line, ridged with a few hills and rock clusters, but otherwise flat. Everything is a deep, bright blue now, like we're underwater. A few native rock cicadas come out and sing quietly, a lightly buzzing hum that fills up the air all around me. I take a sip of wine and pull my soft blanket higher up to my chin, enjoying the peace of the evening. The sun drops a little lower, and then lower still, before dipping behind the horizon entirely. It's twilight now, which can last for hours. Slowly, the sky loses some of its neon brilliance and dims back to a quiet, light blue-gray. There's still enough light to sit outside a while longer and enjoy the rock cicadas' hum. I take a deep breath in and then a long breath out. And again in the stillness of the sunset, I breathe in the crisp blue night air, and then let it out in one long, slow, steady exhale. The day has been good, but I let it go, releasing everything to the untamed landscape around me. 2 moons begin to rise through the dim twilight. One orb is huge, glowing white, and almost full. The other, smaller moon hangs back, hiding slightly behind the other like a shy child behind a mother's skirt. The night is clear tonight, and the glow of constellations begin to light up the sky as the blue light fades a little further. Settling back into my chair, I take another sip of wine. I can just spot the outline of the Orion Nebula glinting high up overhead. Over to the right is the Andromeda Galaxy, a hazy, milky, blue-white swirl above. And that's Perseus over there, far over to the left, almost touching the twin moons. It starts to get cold as the wisps of blue light fade and night falls. In the chill, I activate my balcony's clear glass igloo with a swipe of a hand. The curved sides rise up around me, enclosing me in a safe, warm, transparent dome. Through the thick panes of glass, I can look up, cozy and comfortable, glass of wine in hand, and keep stargazing late into the night. I sit curled under my soft blanket and watch the not-so-distant stars begin to appear in the last fading blue glow of twilight. Good night and sweet dreams.